Guys, I have breaking news. We are calling it absolutely way too early, but I have one Senate prediction that I'm going to say I feel fairly certain about. We're going to go ahead and give the Ohio Senate race to Sherrod Brown here. And the reason being pretty simple. The most recent polling, and again, this sort of has to do with the Iowa polling with Seltzer coming out and being absolutely devastating for the Trump campaign and Republicans. Um, Trafalgar, which has a nice little R next to the name there, that is a Republican-leaning pollster. Their latest data coming in at a dead tie in Ohio. And the fact that you have a Republican pollster that is leaning or that is tied in that race, you're going to go ahead and say that that Ohio race is leaning Sherrod Brown. He's a popular senator there. He is a familiar senator there. I don't see why he should not win that race, especially given the polling is what it is. Um, so basically, if you look at the map like this is a fairly safe Senate map to go ahead and project out for today. There are a number of races that are leaning Democrat and that are sort of in the middle there. You have the Ted Cruz race, you have the Florida race with Mucarsel Powell versus Rick Scott. And then you have a couple of these Midwest states that are actually a little bit interesting as well. My feeling is that the states that are already leaning Dem on this map here, those are going to stay solidly Dem. Again, I think that there is an underestimation of the strength of the women turnout for this race, and especially in those split ticket races. A lot of the time, the Democrat is running a little bit stronger than the top of the ticket. It depends state by state, but again, the general theory is that if these states are going to lean a little bit stronger, 1 to 3 to 5% in the Democrats' direction, those should not be a problem. Same with those Republican states, those traditional seats are going to be fairly strong. And really, the general problem here being that West Virginia seat that was vacated by Joe Manchin doing the Democrats absolutely no favor, sort of one last fuck you to everybody who decided, well, that rightfully hates him for being a corporate sellout and a shill and basically doing everything he could to slow down and stop Joe Biden's popular agenda. Same thing with Kirsten Sinema. Adios, goodbye, and thank you for coming. So it's going to be really hard for the Democrats to pick up another seat. Allred has been polling a little bit closer in Texas. Shout out to Atlas Intel for getting another one probably absolutely wrong. I look forward to their reputation being absolutely demolished and diminished after this election once they are going to be off pretty significantly in every single one of their projections. They are an absolute joke of a pollster, and that will be vindicated quite soon. Um, but the final point there, unless you get a significant shift, a really significant surge on election day, which is, but Texas is at the center of a lot of this abortion stuff. They have been one of the strictest states in terms of abortion laws. So really, if you just get that one surge there in Texas, and obviously Ted Cruz is not the most popular guy, but he is a powerful individual. He raises a lot of money and he's got name recognition. So the conservatives there could potentially put him over the edge, but don't count out Colin Allred. If anything, this is going to be a razor thin race. This is going to be within 1 to 2 points, I think. And there's the possibility of Allred going and taking that, but I am not going to go ahead and give him that. I'll give the benefit of the doubt that Ted Cruz could hold on to that race. However, there's a race in Nebraska that is very interesting. This independent, honestly, I don't know a lot about these two candidates, although, just sort of reading into and reading through the polling, it's been back and forth. You've had polls that show Osborne up 2, and then if you go even back in time, you had Osborne up 6 and some, even though that's a poll. A lot of self-funding going on, a lot of these like internal self-funded polls, so difficult to read in a lot with those. But you get into some of these other polls, and you have an Osborne +1, Fisher +2, Um, Again, I don't know a tremendous amount about this, but given the trend in the Iowa poll, and we can only go off of that poll and the trends in early voting, but my feeling is that that Nebraska district could actually go in the direction of excuse me, could actually go in the direction of Fish, or excuse me, of Osborne, and give that to the independent there, especially if we see, just like I said, a 1 to 3 point shift, a surge, a turnout, this sort of anti-abortion rejection from the country that is most likely coming. You could see that, and actually, that is going to be my projection for that Nebraska seat. Um, There is a seat up there in Montana as well that John Tester, who's been around, and this guy Sheehy, um, that the polling has basically collapsed for Tester recently. This race was tied at one point or another. Really, we haven't had a lot of polling, so there's a lot of room for margin for error there. It's a massive spread there. So sort of difficult to say, but Sheehy looking very strong in the polling again. Unless there's some sort of a massive polling miss in that direction, Montana is most likely going to stay there. Again, Texas probably. Florida, Rick Scott versus McCarcel Powell. Again, it's a tight race. It is a tight race. However, and McCarcel Powell has had some interesting ads. I'm in Florida at the moment. It's my current residence. Um, but I think that Florida, more than anything else, is going to sort of become like this weird pseudo Republican stronghold, or maybe not a Republican stronghold, but a Trump Republican stronghold. I think the surge in the vote and people just voting down ballot or down ticket on that probably see a lot of people sort of voting yes on the pro-abortion, yes on the marijuana, and then just going down the line and switching and going for Scott and Trump on that. Could be close. I think it's going to be probably closer than Trump's race. I can imagine Trump winning Florida by 3 to 4 to 5 points, and then Scott winning by maybe only 1 to 2 points. So it's definitely within reach for McCarcel Powell, but it's not going to be a given. I think the bottom line here, I think really more seats are up for the Democrats to lose, but my feeling is that Republicans are actually more on the defense than ever at this point. I think the Montana seat is still vulnerable. I think the Texas seat is still vulnerable. I think the Florida seat is vulnerable. I think Ohio will go definitely to Sherrod Brown, and I think the Nebraska seat could surprise and also go that way as well towards the independent. So my prediction is that we will be looking at a 50-50 Senate at the very least. This is sort of my floor for Democrats. Um, and I think that's pretty much where I want to leave it. Let me know what you guys think. This is my too early to call Senate projection. We will see as the numbers come in what this looks like, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. Let me know your thoughts and comments, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.